Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Pritesh Kumar, the founder of FanPlay. Pritesh is a graduate of IIT Delhi and has worked for companies such as Jojo Day and Gromo before starting his own venture in 2020. Uh, Pritesh is also a part of Y Combinator program currently. Hi Pritesh, welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya. Thanks for having me. Uh, Good talking.
Pritesh, I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Yeah, thanks, Priya. I think I think you briefly mentioned uh, touched on points on my journey. I think I have been. I just want to mention that I have been a founder in the past. Uh, so uh, so entrepreneurship kind of jump into entrepreneurship is not something that is very new to me. I've done that in the past and probably uh, been wanting to do it again all the time actually. And and here we are. I think I've been working on this idea for quite some time now, for almost a year now. And yeah.
Okay. Pritesh, tell us about your venture. What problem are you solving? What is the idea? What kind of traction you have got? Tell us in detail.
Hmm. Okay. Good. We are FanPlay, and we run a product called FanGame.live, and we allow influencers to play games with their followers and make money. So presently we are doing presently we are doing trivia based uh, games only, and look to expand into other games as we go. Uh, so broadly, we are into the real money gaming space, which is probably India's fastest growing space today. And the space is pretty new, starting out probably 3 to 4 years ago only. And hence, I think we are among the early people to get started in this space, and there are no parallels to what we are doing across the world. So we've innovated on the product, and yeah, I think we got into. I think recently we got into the Y Combinator program around 3 months back, and that has been a massive boost to the company. And yeah, I think we're looking forward to actually revolutionize the real money gaming space, as well as help the micro and the mid tier influencers make money through their following.
Okay. Uh, Pritesh, now tell us about your journey. You said you have been an entrepreneur from a long time. Now take us through your journey, like how it all started. What are the different events in your life that triggered entrepreneurship in you, etc.
I think it's been a long journey. I would say I think the fire has always been there. I think the roots would go back to probably second or third year of college. I'm talking about 2011, 2012. Started a website by the name of Ulta Buy. So it was based on reverse bidding in the space of e-commerce. Back then, if you remember, 2011, 2012, e-commerce was kicking off the India's startup journey actually. And then I've been sort of entrepreneur for a while, quite a while actually. Before one of my ed tech blogs by the name of Edwitty, actually it took off. I was running the blog and it gained massive popularity. So back then, I remember I had appeared for CAT actually, and then on a friend session, and then so the choice was to go for an MBA or pursue this idea full. And I did most of my interviews and decided to take on the starting up. But unfortunately, things don't always turn out the way you think, right? But again, when I started up this time, I had a bag full of learnings from my mistakes from the previous startup. That I initially knew there were a lot of things that simply could not take a backseat from the failures that I had from the past failure actually, and I've been pushing those things in the present venture. Um, if I were to talk about probably some of the things that I have we have on a company level we have improved from a previous venture, I would probably uh, the realization that idea is not paramount. It's execution that is paramount, right? Uh, people take up more than they can chew. That's I have been I have been guilty of that too as well in the past. So realizing that you have to say no to things and try to execute things rather than just keep building up and piling up ideas. That's one core learning that I've had in the past. And apart from that, I think talking to customers is something that probably most entrepreneurs, especially in their first venture, also uh, tend to forget actually. Uh, I've been guilty of that too. I think, and that's one big learning that I've had. And apart from that, obviously, bringing objectivity to things, research and data and empirical evidence behind what you do. I think these are some things that that I was sure of that I was gonna do when I started up this time. I think back in March when COVID hit and when there was lockdown, I decided to quit my job and started up this venture that we're doing right now, Fanplay. Yeah.
Okay. Pritesh, now tell us what problem are you solving in our society with your venture? When I define entrepreneurship, it is nothing but solving a problem for society and getting compensated for it. What problem are you solving for our society?
Okay. So if you look at the influencer space, there are the influencer space. The number of influencers in the last 3 4 years have more than quadrupled actually, and but the monetization opportunities have not. Uh, and If you talk to any influencer, what probably looks like an easy job is actually not one actually. They tend to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort into building their fan base, and they're actually uh, involved in their craft, I would say. But the kind of reward that they get for that is pretty low, especially if you look at the mega influencers, say someone with a million plus kind of following. The kind of payout for them is really, really high, despite the fact that they probably have a much lower engagement rate compared to a smaller influencer, right? So we want to give these smaller, the mid-tier influencers an opportunity to monetize upon their following, upon their efforts, right? And that's where Fanplay comes in. And as I mentioned earlier, that they're able to play games with their fans and followers and able to monetize out of those games that they play. I think that's one core problem that we are looking to solve. I think that's on the problem statement. I would also like to shed some light on the opportunity that we have in the space that we are in. So we're into real money gaming space, right? And That's one core problem in this space is that uh, the the whole cost of running business in the real money gaming space. Uh, with the influencer angle coming in, we curtail down the cost of running business massively, which again builds a win-win situation for both the company as well as the influencer domain actually.
Okay. Uh, my next question would be on uh, on the team that you have built to take this venture forward. Uh, can you tell us how you recruited or meet or found these people who are working towards the vision you have?
I think if I were to talk about the team, I remember the Stripe founder saying that you can't be looking at when you're building a startup team, especially early on. You can't be looking at people from folks from say Microsoft, Google, and so on and so forth, or say Paytm in the Indian context, right? Uh, what you're looking out at are people who are still there, right? Still there in the ecosystem, in the startup ecosystem, I would say rather. Uh, I would rather go on to say that we have built an excellent team. We are very proud of what we've done on that front, and probably something that has mm, helped us a lot. Or probably, if I look back, what has happened is probably we picked uh, each person that we picked in the initial days was based on one specific thing that was awesome about them, right? And then it was it was on that specific thing that we took a gut call. And I think I would like to add here that probably uh, there's a startup gene that you can actually see in people, right? People who are willing to join a startup, right? Because that's not an easy decision for anyone uh, joining a startup compared to especially when people are coming from a corporate world, or especially when they have friends in the corporate world, right? That's always a difficult decision uh, because there are a lot of unpredictable things going on in a startup. There are a lot of startups come and go. The average lifespan would be very, very short, probably less than a year for a startup. So I think that startup gene has been there. We've been looking out deliberately for that startup gene in people that we have been talking to. And I think I would also like to say that probably it's not that we picked up the team, but rather the team picked us up actually. I think as a startup, that hiring process is really, really, really tough. And eventually, some people just like the idea that you're working on, and the
Yep. So, Pritish, are you able to hear me?
yeah, I can hear.
Okay. My next question is around that. How would you define startup gene? How do you identify those people who have a startup gene in them?
I think the biggest factor would be the energy that some people bring. I think that's uh, when you talk to people, there are some people who just wooze energy out, and okay, this guy doesn't want to get stuck in a large company building a piece of something so large that they don't know where they fit in, right? Uh, uh, I think the second factor would be probably I would say that the look at the a lot of people that have joined us have been looking at entrepreneurship or have been part of startups in the past, right? Uh, so uh, so they have either brought in that startup gene from the beginning, or have that gene has got ingrained in them in the process actually. So I think, and then there's this massive factor of what I would say gut call. That's always there actually.
Okay. Pritish, my next question is around Y Combinator program. I understand you are currently a part of the YC. Tell us why someone should join YC, how the selection process is for YC, and after you have joined YC, what kind of benefits you have got.
I would say that I think on the why question, I think the answer is pretty clear. I think the number one startup program in the world, most recognized, most prestigious actually, and it does make a difference, right? The tag value does give you a lot of benefits. I think so. I think the probably an very, very easy answer, right? If you were to talk about the process, I think there's a deadline for filling a form. I think the deadline is still open for the next cohort, or probably just closed a few days back. Where you fill in the form with your idea with a co-founding team. You write a little bit about your team, about the idea, and it's a very exhaustive form. Uh, they ask a lot of deep questions actually, and then there's an interview process based on the form. A certain number of companies are interviewed. It's a short 10-minute interview. Uh, Earlier, it used to be in-office interview. It was in the Silicon Valley, but due to the COVID situation, now the interviews are all on Zoom calls. It's a short 10-minute interview, and based on that interview, you get a call, yes, no call, um, within next 24 hours actually. Uh, so it's a pretty straightforward process. But I think, like I mentioned, the benefits are huge. I think one would be uh, there's a cushion, right? There's a cushion. As a startup, you're always worried about uh, what tragedy could strike you next, right? You have to prepare yourself. I think it's also about startups are also about keeping a list of what could go wrong, right? Because you are always trying to do the right things. but in the process you tend to forget that okay, this could impact my company in a massive way, and probably could lead to bad outcomes, right? So I think Y Combinator, if anything, it gives a cushion that okay, we are there, right? Obviously, that there's a certain amount of capital that comes in, but apart from that, I think there's a certain amount of uh, comfort knowing that okay, there are people who will back you now, yeah, even if things go a little slightly wrong. Uh, uh, and secondly, I would say that I think it has helped us in team building a lot, because now I think it does take a lot of selling. I would say it does take a lot of selling to, as a young startup, it does take a lot of selling, trying to convince people to join the team, or trying to convince people for everything. I would say, be it family, be it friends, be it people who join you, be it investors, and everyone, right? Uh, that process becomes a little less rigorous, I would say, because there is certain conviction, certain tag value that comes with this, because the YC process itself is pretty rigorous, right? So okay, okay, so we have gone through this rigorous process, and there's a certain amount of validation coming from here. So what we are doing is probably there is a very big opportunity, a very big business that could be built out of it, or a very big uh, uh, core challenge in the society that we're trying to solve, right? So I think that question has been there and has helped a lot tremendously. I would say it has been a life changer for us.
Okay. Uh, how about the challenges you have faced so far as an entrepreneur? Would you like to share them with us? Both challenges and failures you have to go through as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think I could go on and on about the challenges that you face as an entrepreneur, in a startup actually. Be it the financial problems that you have, that's always there. That's always there on your head. Simply nobody can take that away from, no matter how much money you raise, or no matter how good a business you're doing, that can't be taken away, right? I would say I think then there's a problem of finding a co-founder, and the team splits, people moving out of team. You can't have a bigger team. You have a very small micro team actually, and people handling critical pieces. They move out, and then there's a very long process of getting more people onto it, right? Uh, I think one more core challenge would be getting people to believe. I mentioned it earlier. I think product releases, reiterating product failures. Actually, I could go on counting, but I think on a philosophical level, I would say one of the I think most challenging pieces has been uh, to believe in your idea. I think yeah, as a entrepreneur, you are the one who has the strongest belief in the product that you're building, right? But simultaneously, you also have to be the biggest critic of your product, to be aware okay, what's working, what's not working, right? You can't just be a blind believer in the product that you're building. You should always be aware, and always be on your toes on what's working, what's not, right? What feedback are the customers giving out, and that has a lot to do with customer feedback actually. So I think the biggest challenge is to philosophically align the fact that you are your biggest critic, as well as your the strongest believer in your idea as well. Uh, yeah.
Okay. Um, what are the interesting lessons you have learned as an entrepreneur, which can shorten the learning curve of other entrepreneurs out there who are listening to you right now?
Okay, I think I mentioned quite a few, but anyways, I'll just point out some of those again, to just lay emphasis on that. One would be, I think I mentioned it earlier. I think execution. I think a lot of people, when they start up, or early entrepreneurs, they dwell a lot on the idea actually. Okay, uh, this idea seems so good, so good, so good. I think every idea has its own merit. Uh, Probably a business could be built out of every idea. Only ideas are either ahead of their times, or probably they fail because of bad execution. Actually, a big business could be built out of any idea, I would say. Take a look at Razorpay, right? A lot of competitors already existed back when Razorpay started. There was CitrusPay. There are a lot of players actually, but Razorpay built a beautiful business out of it, right? Despite the competition, despite stalwarts being there in this system. Uh, I think execution should be paramount. That one should keep in mind. Idea is not paramount. Execution is what matters in the end. Uh, I think also I think a lot of people believe that, which I'm equally guilty of earlier actually, is that uh, an idea is or a company is built by the founders, which is I think uh, a very bad, a very wrong notion actually. A company is built by the team actually. A team actually ends up eventually building the company. So building a very strong early team is very critical. I think also I think the first 5-10 people that you join the team actually, that join the team actually, that's what defines the rest of the people who are going to join the team. I think so that's a very tough process, and that's a very tough and grilling process, I would say. Uh, so I think on nutshell, I think these are some of the uh, core things that people tend to forget, or people mistakes that people tend to make, which I've had to learn the hard way, I would say.
Speaking of hiring first 5 to 10 people, the core team, what is the ideal or a typical composition of the core team in a successful startup?
Yeah, I think valid question. I think I would say initially, since building the product, since when you start up, right, when you're just starting up, right, the product is not out there, or it's just an MVP version of the product. So there's very little business on the product, right? So initial team is typically ends up being engineering heavy. That's what's happened. That's what eventually happens, no matter what business you are in. And apart from that, I think we started we got an HR first. I think I was clear on the mind that we needed to build a strong team. We couldn't do it all by ourselves. I was very clear on that. So we got an HR first, and she's helped us build this awesome team, I would say. I think and apart from that, I think uh, trying to do. I think I want to say here that initially, obviously, as a founder, you have to try to do all those things by yourself uh, before someone else taking stepping into those shoes, because one should always be aware of the challenges that you could face in that space, right? Say I would take up say let's talk about marketing or reaching or ops for a company, right? If even if you one of the founders does not come from an ops background, both the founders should probably be spending some time in ops, some time in marketing, some time in engineering to realize the core problems there, right? uh, and trying to build a playbook is as important as uh, building a team, right? You should have a playbook on how things should get done. So that those are been some of the our focus areas while building a team, trying to do things by ourselves, trying to get a engineering team up as soon as possible, and
Okay. Um, Based on what you have dreamt initially and what you have been executing, what is the vision you have for your product, or at least what you can see your product becoming in next 5 years time?
yeah, I think from the vision point of view, what we started with, what I personally started with when I quit my job, think that changed really quickly. I think I started with a very different idea. I think it has developed into something very different over the next 3 months on itself. And then that's when I started building an MVP based on what we had, what idea we had back then. Uh, and even from there, I think a lot has changed. A lot of people would tell us that, okay, guys, all this is gonna change, I think. And that's happened. That's happened. A lot of those ideas have changed actually, based on what works, what does not work, right? So in a startup, in an early stage startup, you're also throwing there's a metaphor where you're throwing a bowl of noodle on a wall, right? And you wait for what sticks, right? So I think that's part of the process of building a product. So a lot has changed in from the vision, from the original vision, and I think that was bound to happen. We had realized it pretty early, but I think the core problem statement and the core challenge that we are trying to solve and the core opportunity that's there in the market that remains static. There's a challenge in the influencer space, there's a challenge in the real money gaming space, and there's an opportunity because of these two challenges as well. That has remained the same. Uh, I think on the vision, what I see us becoming 5 years down the line, uh, I would say I think the vision is endless. I think we are at a stage in a space that's probably India's fastest growing, and at a stage that's early. I would compare this timing in real money gaming space as probably 2008, 2009 when e-commerce started booming in India, right? At that point of time, probably e-commerce was growing at, I remember, as far as I remember, probably 35-40% year on year. Real money gaming is growing at 55% year on year pre-corona numbers actually. So we are at a the timing is sweet. Uh, I think there will be a multiple huge gaming companies that will come out of India in the long run. We want to be there among those. What we're trying to solve initially is the acquisition. Once we get the acquisition model right, there are tons of things we could do, including in the entertainment as well as the gaming space. Uh, yeah, I think I would stop at that.
Okay. Pritesh, this is my final question to you. What would be your message to someone who is just like you but 5 years younger than you?
Okay, that's a tricky question actually. If I look back 5 years to someone who's starting up uh, probably now and 5 years younger, uh, I think I would say that primarily if you're looking to start up I will give you an entrepreneur's perspective actually. If you're looking to start up, probably number one thing that you need to do is to call people up, right? Talk to your customers, potential customers, talk to industry leaders, get feedback, build a continuous feedback mechanism. I think that's something that Elon Musk says. I think talks about a feedback mechanism, right? Uh, because what happens is whatever you're trying to do, there are always people who have been there in those shoes, right? And so you try to get as much feedback and improvise upon that as possible. And there are always tons of people out there who are willing to help. Also, if you're looking to build something, talking to customers is 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 paramount, I would say, right? Because if you're even if you talk about Steve Jobs as well, right? He was probably the uh, most best one of the best builders in the recent history, right? But none of his actually products was based on mere hypothesis. It was based on customer data. It was based on how people were liking or not liking the that era of phones, or that era, say a Walkman from that era, what people wanted from their music, and hence the iPod and so on and so forth. I think a lot of those ideas come from customer talks. So if anybody is looking to build, the first thing that they should do is talk to their customers.
Awesome. On this note, I would close this session. It was a great pleasure to host you here at ELI, and our best wishes for fan play. Thanks for your time, Pritesh. That is it for today's episode.
Thank you, Priya. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Uh, listeners, we'll be back with another exciting entrepreneur. Stay tuned to ELI.